Hey everyone, Brett from Kitchen Table Commander here, and I'm back with another deck tech. Thanks to War of the Spark, we have a slew of new legendaries to build unique decks around. It brings us a new 5-color commander with Niv Mizzet Reborn, an anti-land commander with Tomek Distinguished Advocist, a Proliferate Frampler with Royalisk Apex Hybrid, but we'll discuss all the possible new commanders in another video. Look for that in the not so distant future. Thanks to a friend of mine who designed this deck, the guy I go to when I need advice on a build, I'm bringing you a Feather the Redeemed Commander deck tech. This deck takes advantage of Feather's ability to bring your spells back again and again, essentially giving you unlimited copies of your favorite cards. Before we get into the deck, I want to remind you that if you enjoyed this video, please click that like button and subscribe to keep up to date with all of our content. With that out of the way, let's do this! First off, we should talk about our commander. Feather the Redeemed is a 3/4 flying angel for red and double white. Already a pretty strong card. Her ability is the real reason she's our commander though. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Finally, a spell-slinging Boros commander. Forget Mentor, Battalion, and Radiance. This is Boros like we've never seen it before. Feather wants you to be casting spells constantly and wants your creatures to be targets for those spells. So let's look at what we'll be targeting. Heroic is the mechanic we're going to abuse, take advantage of in this deck. We head back into Theros block for a Crowan Crusader, Anax and Cymede, Phalanx Leader, Tethmos High Priest, and Vanguard of Brimaz. These creatures all give you sweet bonuses for targeting them with your spells, getting creatures back from the graveyard, giving your creatures boosts and counters, and making a ton of tokens. Speaking of tokens, we've got Young Pyromancer and Loyal Apprentice to make a ton of Elemental and Flying Thopter tokens respectively. For even more ridiculous targets, we've included Mirror Winged Dragon and Zada Hedron Grinder to spread the love around. Target either of them with your spell and the whole team gets it. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I must have ramped right into the main deck. Let's step back a minute and take a look at our ramp package. This deck has a low curve with the average CMC at only 2.5, but we want to be able to cast multiple spells a turn, and what better way to do that than with lots of mana. Obviously we have Soul Ring, Commander Sphere, Fellawar Stone, Star Compass, and Boros Signet. But we also have Smothering Tithe to get extra mana every time your opponents draw a card. Jeweled Amulet helps us when we invest a little. Sad Robot gets, well, you know the drill. And Boreas Charger, Knight of the White Orchid, and Core Cartographer get us more planes. With all of this, we shouldn't be hard up for mana at any point in the game. In playtesting, I managed to be at 4 to 5 mana on turn 3 pretty consistently. Moving on, we have our removal package. Removal is a key component to any deck, and this is no exception. We might only have a few cards in this category, but with Feather's ability, we have near infinite copies of each. We have Divergent Transformations and Path to Exile to exile any annoying creatures your opponents may have on the battlefield. Duplicant does something similar but doesn't trigger Feather's ability. Don't worry though, we've got ways to get the same effect, which we'll get to later. Return to Dust and Crush Contraband let us exile artifacts and enchantments. Rolling Thunder helps us spread the damage around or helps us do the last few points necessary to kill something big or an opponent who's just hanging on. And last but certainly not least is Oblation. Oblation lets us breathe a sigh of relief by making our opponent shuffle away any non-land threat that's stopping us from winning. If you do happen to get into a little trouble and need a reset button, we've got you covered. This deck includes Fell the Mighty, Cleansing Nova, and Settle the Wreckage to give us plenty of options should the tides turn against us. Considering this deck wants to be casting lots of instant and sorceries, you're going to want to be able to tutor up exactly the card you want when you need it. So to make that happen, we've included Sunforger. What's better than a tutor? A repeatable tutor that also gives your creature a boost to power. Equip Feather or any other creature, then unattach it to find any instant you want. That seems awfully expensive, you say. Well, how about we include Magnetic Theft to cut the equip cost down? You get it back thanks to Feather's ability. Need ways of getting Sunforger? Don't worry, we've got that covered with Open the Armory and Gamble to be able to search your library for it. And in the case of Gamble, get anything you want or need at the time. Now that we're getting some attention from our opponents with Sunforger, we're going to need ways to protect our creatures as well as ourselves. So this deck includes Shelter and Gods Willing to give protection from the color of your choice. Deflecting Palm is a nice way to say, stop hitting yourself. And we all know what Swift Boots does. It may not be Lightning Greaves, but it definitely helps to keep this build a little bit more budget. Fury Storm is so versatile that it can fit into many of the categories of this deck. It can be removal if you target something your opponents cast, and it can be a win con if you target something of your own, which we'll get to in a bit. What I'm trying to say here is never underestimate its power. The rest of our protection comes in the form of blink effects. Cards like Cloud Shift, Long Road Home, Acrobatic Maneuver, Otherworldly Journey, and Eerie Interlude. All of these keep your creatures safe, and in the case of Long Road Home and Otherworldly Journey, bring them back with a boost. It wouldn't be a spell-slinging deck if it didn't have a ton of combat tricks up its sleeve. Because of Feather's ability, most of ours target our creatures. Cards like Rush of Blood, Adamant Will, Sure Strike, Guided Strike, Built to Smash, Titan Strength, and Reckless Charge all give your creatures a boost. And in some cases, added abilities like Indestructible, First Strike, and Haste. Just need a little haste? Well, we've got Expedite to help get you those fast attacks. We've also got Psychotic Fury and Teamer Battle Rage to give a creature double strike. Seize the Day gives us another combat and main phase so we can swing in again with our biggest and best creature. And we have Panic and Renegade Tactics to prevent our opponents from blocking with their best. Now that you know the payload we're carrying, you might be asking yourself, what if you have to use these and Feather isn't on the battlefield? Your hand is going to be empty pretty fast. Well, you're in luck because we've included Reforge the Soul and Wheel of Fate to get you a full grip if you ever find yourself wanting. Once you've got Feather on the battlefield and you have all those cool spells just waiting to be cast over and over, you're going to want to get just a little bit more value out of them. So to do that, we've included Electrostatic Field, Firebrand, Archer, and Gutter Snipe to deal extra damage to each of your opponents every time you cast an instant or sorcery. In the case of the Archer, anytime you cast a non-creature spell. With the average CMC of our instant and sorceries being so low, that could be significant damage in a single turn. If the thought of winning through incidental damage or just turning creatures sideways doesn't interest you, then I'm glad you stuck around, because we've got some crazy win cons incoming. Carry Zev's expertise is ridiculous in this deck. Target their biggest and most annoying creature and you get to swing in with it that turn. Then you get to cast any card with CMC 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So let's say, I don't know, Cloud Shift targeting the same creature? That means their creature is now yours for the rest of the game. How hilarious is that? Also, this deck wouldn't be complete without Life Laser, also known as Aetherflux Reservoir. With all the spells you'll be casting, dropping this early will gain you a ton of life, and if it's left long enough can take out multiple players a game. Well, now that you've seen the goods, we should probably take a look under the hood. The land base in this deck is critical to getting a fast start and ramping into those crazy plays. So we've got all the duels. Well, not all of them, but the ones that aren't crazy expensive. We've got Rugged Prairie, Boros Garrison, Clifftop Retreat, and Sacred Foundry. Command Tower and Exotic Orchard to get us any mana we might need. Scavenger Grounds gives us the ability to blow up a graveyard that might be about to give us trouble. Sheffet Dunes and Ramanop Ruins give us a little flexibility or act as the sacrifice for Scavenger Grounds. We've also included Reliquary Tower so we never have to discard any of our sweet spells at end step. And finally, 13 mountains and 12 plains round out this Boros Spellslinger deck. Well, that about does it for today. What did you think about this deck? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video and you want to see more, you can help out the channel by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. You can also hit the notification bell to make sure you stay up to date with all of our content. It helps the channel and it's completely free. If you wanted to throw a couple of bucks our way to help us improve the channel, you can do that through our Patreon at patreon.com/KitchenTableCommander, or through our sponsor, Inked Gaming. Use the affiliate link in the description below to let them know we sent you, and you can use coupon code KitchenTable10 at checkout to get 10% off your purchase. You can even pick up the Kitchen Table Commander playmat while you're there. As usual, you can find me on Twitter at KitchenTableCMD, or on both Instagram and Twitch at KitchenTableCommander. Streaming Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll leave links in the description to all our socials. It's been a blast, and I'll see you in the next video.